got that adrenaline, venom, not knowing when I'm never gonna slow up and I'm ready to snap any momentum.
Hey guys, what's going on? Kwame here, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I am bringing you guys 5 common mistakes that a lot of players, including myself, make in Escape from Tarkov. I just wanted to put it out there right now that there are probably more obvious, relevant, and probably more pertinent mistakes that players make, but these are just the 5 that I've seen a lot of players do, and that I've personally done a fair bit myself, so I wanted to do a video on it. And just remember that these tips are not necessarily the be-all and end-all, and they are not in any particular order, and that these tips might not even apply to you because everyone's playstyle is different. If you like these types of videos and you want me to do more content like this in the future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below and let me know what you think, and if you have suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave them down below too, and I'll see what I can do. All my footage comes from my live streams, which can be found at twitch.tv/Kwame_AU. I stream Tuesdays to Fridays at 4 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time and Saturdays at 3 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now that we got all that stuff out of the way, guys, let's get into it. Number 1 is standing in an elevated position for too long. You'll see this done a lot by intermediate level players, and what they will do is stand or position themselves somewhere in an elevated position. What that means is by positioning themselves, let's say for example a rock, a hill, a roof, on top of a vehicle, or basically anywhere up high, where by doing so will enable the player to have a wider and further line of sight, or LOS for short. So by having a further line of sight of the surrounding area, they will have a better chance of seeing enemy players' movements, which in turn gives them free additional information. Having any additional information over your enemies is always a huge advantage in order to be able to outplay your opponents. But the problem is some people stay in these elevated positions for too long. Any intermediate player will know of these elevated positions on the map, and it will be the first place they will check for enemy players. So staying up there for too long can be a bad idea. Even going there when it's not a good time to be in that spot can get you killed. Just like in this clip, I got into an elevated position on the roof to get sight of nearby enemy players. They were ready for me, and I instantly got killed. Try not to make it a habit of going into these spots too often and for too long. Number 2 is getting distracted by other sounds. It's important to take all sounds into consideration, but there are some instances where you should be focusing on the immediate threat or the task at hand. Audio information is important and key. Probably one of the most important pieces of information in any shooter game. But don't let other sounds distract you or take your eyes off the area of the immediate threat. Always keep your focus on what needs to be done right now and not, for example, the gunshots coming from another direction 200 meters or so away. In this clip, here I was clearing out dorms in a solo raid. I killed Scav Boss and his goons, and as I was collecting my hard-earned loot, I got attacked by a team of players who had obviously heard the gunshots and beelined it to my position. I end up flanking the first player, and as I was attempting to fight the second player, chasing him around on the second floor, I end up making a vital mistake. Another guy. Oh! As I was pressing this player in the dorms, I heard some bushes outside and I got distracted for a brief moment, and for some reason, just out of habit, I heard a noise close by and I flicked my mouse in the direction of that noise. Even considering the situation, since we are in high alert mode, it's incredibly stupid to look away from the targeted area, and since the other player that we just heard has to be outside the building because the noise that we heard was rustling from bushes, and looking in that direction does absolutely nothing for me. It's just pure habit that I hear a noise and I immediately flick my mouse in that direction, and because of that, it got me killed and sent me a one-way ticket back to the lobby. So the lesson here is this: Don't be like me and look in the direction of every single noise that happens in the game, especially when there is a player we 100% know is very, very close to us. This, as you can see, gets you killed. Focus on the immediate threat and deal with situations accordingly. Number 3 is not checking or securing the surrounding area. This one is pretty straightforward, but happens so very often to many players, including myself. Running from point A to point B in Escape from Tarkov is pretty common, so sometimes you'll get into a habit of just running out blindly into an area at full speed, nonchalantly, when there could very well be enemy players nearby. This is a common mistake. Enemy players who spot you can very well wait for you until you run out into a more compromised position, such as waiting until you either run out of stamina, or you run into an area that is open and has zero to little cover before taking shots. If this ever happens to you, you can be certain that this is a surefire way to end your raid early. Prevent this by taking it slower and at the same time managing your stamina gauge better. Always assume there could be an enemy player anywhere, and don't forget you can always take your time. By moving out more slowly and not sprinting all the time gives you more time to scout ahead of the surrounding area, and you have a better chance of spotting nearby enemy players laying in wait. Number 4 is lack of map knowledge or unaware of the terrain. This one is fairly common, especially to beginners, because they are unfamiliar with the map or the terrain. Not knowing where everything is on the map will be a huge disadvantage compared to a player who knows the map and terrain like the back of their hand. There is nothing worse than running through an area you are unfamiliar with, then all of a sudden you start taking fire because not only do you not know where you're getting shot from most of the time, and not only are your eyes not trained to look at all the potential hiding spots a player could be hiding, and not because you're unfamiliar with the map, but because you don't know where to run to get to cover. Most of the time you just panic and end up making a poor decision, which usually gets you killed. Understanding and knowing where all the hills, buildings, and defilades are on the map, your chances of survival have increased substantially. If you are very familiar with the map, you will know how to maneuver around the terrain, so when you happen to get into a gunfight, you'll feel more comfortable because you are familiar with the surrounding area. In this clip, you see that I run into a fully geared player. Without thinking about the situation correctly, I went prone, and there happened to be a very small defilade in front of me, so I couldn't shoot at the enemy player. But because the defilade in front of me was so small, I couldn't shoot him, but he could see over the defilade and he could shoot me. This happened because I didn't think about the situation enough, and I was unaware that there was a little hill in front of me at this location on the map. This happens frequently to other players when you are unfamiliar with the terrain. When getting shot at, they make a panic move, unaware that they have just dug their own grave, which is an almost sure way of ending the raid early. Just remember, learning and memorizing the maps takes a long time, so don't feel discouraged if you are a new player to the game. We were all there at some stage, so keep playing, keep trying to improve, learn from your mistakes, and don't give up. Number 5 is unaware of choke points or high threat areas. This one is pretty straightforward, but definitely needs to be mentioned. The amount of times I see players just walking around all nonchalantly after spawning in without checking nearby spawns for enemy players amazes me. Customs, for example, you can easily get into an elevated position quickly to try and pick off nearby enemy players just spawning in, which is what I was attempting to do in this clip. So what would happen is players would spawn in, just run out blindly into the open area and just get dead instantly by a player laying in wait. It is a common mistake because it is a popular misconception. You are under a false sense of security that goes along the lines of something like this: I just spawned in, so therefore I am safe. This, unfortunately, is not true. I personally have spawned into a game and took about 5 steps and instantly got shot by an enemy player. The choke points are spots on the map where there will be a high congestion or blockage of players because they will have to pass through that area. These are also considered high threat areas. A good example of high threat areas would be dorms on customs, Kiba store on interchange, and the health resort on shoreline. Understanding which areas these are on every map will help increase your chances of survival dramatically. Because when you are approaching one of these areas, you won't be approaching all willy-nilly, and instead you'll proceed on high alert and with caution. Always remember that in these high threat areas, there is a higher probability of encountering multiple players because of the nature of the surrounding area. Alrighty then, so that's pretty much it for what I got for the top 5 mistakes that I see players make regularly. Before I end this video, guys, I do want to say thank you for watching till the end, and thank you so much to my community for supporting me this entire time. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been great, and because of you guys, I'm going to keep doing videos like this, and hopefully I can continue to help and educate more people to become better players in Escape from Tarkov. The guys that I make in the future, I'll try and keep them short and simple, because I feel like with the longer videos, I feel like it's harder to take in every piece of information. I do understand that, and that's I do have to work on it. That's true. So yeah, like I said, if you guys have any suggestions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or you can always find me at twitch.tv/Kwame_AU. Thanks again for watching, guys, and hopefully I'll see you on the live stream.
I got